And we're live. Hello, Lillian. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sky Notes. It's almost, can you believe it is? Can't believe it's the end of March.
Me either.
Where did it go?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. Poof.
and I mean, this ridiculousness, we said Jupiter's going to go direct and it's going to feel like time flies.
Yeah.
And here we are. Time flew. March just blip
Yeah.
of an eye. So, first, before we talk about April, the astrology of April, which is our topic today, we need to mention that we have exciting shifts coming on the 30th of March, soon, a few days. Venus is finally going to go into Taurus.
Isn't that good?
We need the grounding. We need it's been just talking to people. People are frazzled. They're overstimulated. Everything's over.
Yeah.
Over everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like once Venus lands comfortably in her sign of the Earth, Taurus, I feel like that'll be a pretty dramatic shift. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really have felt the warrior nature of Venus, in Aries, and not always in a super positive way. It's really hard, right? It's the proof in the pudding when you eat that angry woman energy, which I love and I welcome and I support.
Right.
Oh, that's not a good diet all on its own. And you're trying to create a through line to happy woman, happy Venus, happy, beautiful. So I loved when the courageous became courageous, right? The female became bold. The things started happening. So anyway.
I just think it's an overabundance of Aries energy with not a lot centering us or grounding us. And I love Venus and Aries. It's one of my favorite places for her in a natal chart for sure.
Yeah.
But we just need something to ground us and help us feel a little less in a race. I guess that's how I've been feeling is like I'm running a race.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be happy for things to kind of slow down energetically a little bit. Although we have other things that are going to keep things moving along. So let's jump into this.
Sounds good.
So the first thing up is the full moon on the 1st.
Isn't that something? We just wander right on into the harvest.
So we come into the month just on fire, right? That it's like so close to being full. That gibbous energy is intense.
Yeah.
And again, it's that feeling like we have to get somewhere before the shift changes, right?
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the moon at the time of April 1st starting, the moon is at 0 Libra. So it definitely has this freshness and new beginning energy to it, which I think people really liked with the last new moon. I think that feeling like we were going to get to start something over was welcome. Yeah. Would you say so?
I think that's true. And I have to say, because it's bouncing off the container of the year, this massive change, the smaller versions are kind of like, okay, good, I can handle this. And I do just want to pause to say, hello, Lori, we're so happy you're here. So yeah, I think that's exactly right. That it could be that bouncing off the wall, but it's not asking for you to give up your standing, right? Like it's really important to, be your full Libra, allow a glory to exist in you, whether you're, amenable to Libra or feel tension with Libra. Libra's really good at knowing what it's good at,
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's kind of like a little reminder that there's going to be so much that Aries energy is going to intensify in some ways.
I like that.
And so that Libra moon is there to say, let's remember to be diplomatic. Let's remember to listen and to hear the other side. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like we're coming off of a really brutal Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honest to God. And that the continuance of the Mercury and Pisces being confusing and making it's hard to get your message across. And I'm misunderstanding people.
Right.
So the Aries energy makes us impatient and maybe a bit aggressive and combative.
Mhm.
So that Libra moon there at the very beginning is like, okay, so let's remember we need to all live together. We need to compromise and we need to be a bit diplomatic moving forward.
I
One of
love
the
it.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed, something that you were saying made me think of that feistiness of Venus that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Being online and reading people's discussions and astrology threads is it's an interesting place to visit.
Mhm.
But I see so many comments about, God, I just hate astrologers who blah blah blah, and I just can't believe how judgy they are.
Oops.
So I'm hoping that the as we things start to move out of Pisces, that we sort of start noticing our own what's
Well,
the
I
word
was
I'm
gonna say
looking for?
that
Democracy.
interior, yeah, the interior portion of that Libra moon, um, there's I keep thinking of the words, distress tolerance. Do you know what I mean? And,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I was gonna say, I read that if you have ADHD, you may have low muscle tone, and there are certain disabilities that come with low muscle tone, and that is exactly all you need for the magic of catching yourself on every door in your home. So the dress I'm wearing has a sash. With Aries being so prevalent, I try not to, let's see, I try to increase my distress tolerance if my sash gets caught on the door, which it's gonna. You know what I mean? I'm gonna spin around the door like I'm playing some kind of superhero, and then it's gonna get caught on the door, and I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna go, slow down. So it's a funny
Yeah,
thing. That's me, right?
right.
Interior, dealing with that stuff. And then what I find with the exterior is my scrolling is humorous and short. The humorous part is I go, I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not going to look at that. There's no way I want to see about that. I do sometimes, I will say, yearn to have enough mental space to understand what's going on in Alberta, because there was somebody who posted something recently. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh, there's some, I bet that's tasty. What is going on in there? And I was like, I can't.
Yeah. Well, and that is actually one of the gifts of all the Aries energy is
Right,
that we don't have the patience
right.
to go down those big rabbit holes. So that's, I
Hey,
mean, sometimes impatience can be a gift because it doesn't
absolutely.
have that tenacity to be like, I'm just going to go find out everything I want to find out about this. So
Yeah.
I think that on the other side of my comment is a lot of people like you and I who are like, nope, nope,
Oh, yeah.
nope.
Nope. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that is going to happen too is we've got the stuff that's going to slip into Aries because we still have some
So
Aries
much.
action
Yeah.
is going to have they're going to have to talk to Neptune again. So we still have this
Mhm.
moving through Neptune to kind of dilute some of that Aries energy.
And we talked
Um,
about that as, when Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in Pisces, I kept talking about it as like the last few inches of the coffee pot where there are grounds and maybe you don't want to pour that one out. And then that influence that continued. And then as the planets touch into the sign of Aries, they're going to mimic that again. But to your point, not drunk.
right.
I'm going to cross my eyes now just to get ahead of everybody.
Yeah. Well, and so we get that full moon on the first, and it's interesting because the right away the energy is quite intense. Like the weekend of the third is
Mhm.
what do I have here? Venus is going to square Pluto,
Yeah.
Mercury is going to trine Jupiter,
Mhm.
and then the sun is going to square Jupiter on
Right.
the 5th. So that's a really active weekend and it's all cardinal and fixed energy. And
Mhm.
what I find when we have that, the cardinal and the fixed is activated like that,
Mhm.
we can tend to feel like we're spinning in place
Right.
because the fixed energy doesn't want to move and the cardinal does. And so it'll be interesting. I think that next weekend the overall feeling might be a little bit overwhelmed and not feeling
Yeah.
like you can do the things you want about it right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I really love the Mercury trine Jupiter because I feel like there's some remedy in there from everything that we've gone through with Mercury so far, you know?
I was just thinking about one of the ways I learned about Aries and Taurus was that they were, especially Taurus, pre-verbal. And so there wasn't really an analytical filter for the experiences. And
Right.
one of the things that has been an adjunct of what you're talking about with the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, I feel like this is the first time I've talked to somebody in a week, and that is not true at all. But it's case in point, the Mercury in Pisces and the pre-verbal feeling of the spring, which I'll have to check and see if I've felt this before. I haven't been able to hold on to words at all.
No.
And I can do
No.
the analytical filter, but it doesn't necessarily connect back to uh, another thing, something to
Yeah.
capture it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The loss of words has been extremely interesting, and I think I described that to you when we had our meeting this week, that
Yeah.
the ideas and the visuals that I get are just beautiful and wild and fantastic,
Yeah.
but I can't get them out of my mouth. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just can't find adequate words, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because I say that to people who have Mercury and Pisces in their natal chart. Like, that's
Right.
something that I talk to them about. This is the first time in a long life so far that I've really noticed that for myself, that I'm like, I'm really not being able to connect and really enjoying the
Yes.
inspiring and the visual. Like, it's beautiful, but
Yeah.
so frustrated that I can't get it out of my mouth or even written in the way that I'm seeing it in my
Yeah.
head, you know?
Yeah. I can't write it. I can draw it. And then I noticed I was like rabbit holing on vocal analysis and
Mm.
singing
Oh,
and
interesting.
getting up and singing and kind of stomping around the studio and, letting things process that way. So that seems to fit the nonverbal part, right?
Right. Oh, that's very Mercury and Pisces too, is
Right.
communicating through
Oh,
music.
beautiful.
For
Beautiful.
sure. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is lovely. Yeah. But I feel like when we get the trine between Mercury and Jupiter, there's
Hmm.
some kind of rectification around messaging.
Oh, I
There's
love
some
it.
kind of correction, right?
Mhm.
That's the positive side of it. The thing that we need to pay attention to is that there can be somebody spin. Spin will be very easy when Mercury and Pisces is having a beautiful relationship with Jupiter and Cancer.
That is
Um,
so interesting. Do
yeah.
you do you think we talked before March started about the illusory quality of things? Did you ever think it would go so far as it's gone today, where, the Pentagon was like, let us kill people with AI. Let us just do that. And AI is like, no, yes, no, yes. And then on another note, the social media for all of the government for the first time ever is like a 13-year-old boy's wet dream of being on social media. It's all AI, it's all garbage, it's all like, look at me, I'm the tough guy. And it makes no sense. And so it becomes, I'm not going to say difficult or the first time it's ever happened, but we have to go back to the pre-internet time, those of us who were there, and talk about how we did research then and how we would get sort of, get information that was valuable and helpful, because there's something getting lost in the joy around all of the snarkiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I see your point. Yep, for sure. But on that note, I do want to mention that what we talked about with the all that stuff in the 11th house with the
Yeah.
Aries and um, the king and the king
Yes.
having getting caught lying, like everything that we
Yes.
said is pretty much exactly what happened that weekend.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty wild. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets worked on
Yeah.
once we have this. First of all, the aspect to Jupiter, but then also once Mercury changes signs this month, because that's going to happen too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so that is an active weekend, and then by it kind of gets a little bit quieter. April 9th, though, is when Mars moves into Aries.
Hmm.
Did I miss something?
Yeah. But it's not from astrology. I just want to say, it's Palm Sunday.
Right.
Uh, and we just came off of, I think it was really cool to think of all of the festivals and all of the celebrations that happened within the Mercury retrograde period, like Ramadan ended and Mercury went direct, and Nowruz happened at the same time, which is kind of the equinox in Iran, and maybe other Middle Eastern countries as well. And now it's Palm Sunday, right? It's that we're at the, I mean, I guess it would be the loss of the king if it were indigenous stuff, right? It's the end. It's going to be on the Friday, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Good
mhm.
Friday for Catholics. Sorry to be so Catholic, but I think other people do that too, right? Palm
I think
Sunday?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Church of England, I would think would, because they're pretty much the same.
No, rascals.
I said I went to a funeral and I'd never been to Church of England before. I was
Mhm.
raised Catholic.
Right?
Um, and I had no idea they were so similar. And I made a comment when we were leaving. I'm like, they're just different enough to out the Catholics, right? Like just different enough that
Yes.
you'd know where I
Absolutely.
had learned those things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, so I would assume that they have a similar Easter setup and Palm Sunday and Good Friday and all of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have that happening in there. And then we have on the 9th, Mars is going to move into Aries. And what Lillian and I talked about beforehand was all of these planets in Aries have been ruled by a Mars in Pisces, which is kind of drunk. But really, if we're not joking about it, Mars in Pisces runs on intuition.
Hmm.
And so what's fascinating to me is though all the cards that you and I have pulled and all the messages that we've gotten have almost always said, look at your intuition, touch into your intuition. So
Absolutely.
it's interesting that that's really come through over and over and over again for us. But
Mm.
now Mars is gonna go into Aries, which is its sign, and it's gonna be in charge of all these Aries planets, and it's gonna feel like my interpretation of it is that it's going to feel easier to figure out what that direction is that we're supposed to be doing or what that action is that we're supposed to be taking.
Hmm.
You know, um,
And we were talking about a little zhuzh, a little
yeah,
courage,
for
a little
sure, for sure.
energy.
Some physical activity, like the desire to get the blood pumping, there definitely
Yeah.
be an increase in energy for sure.
Hmm.
Once it passes Neptune, because it's going to,
And that's the next Monday, right? So we're like mid-month.
yeah, yeah. Did we miss anything before that though? Before it actually goes to Neptune?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Not really.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, yeah, that weekend on the 11th and the 12th, Mars is gonna, cozy up to Neptune.
Yeah.
And I wrote it down here as that's like Mars's rite of passage,
Right.
right? It's like it's gotta touch into its spiritual meaning and its higher resonance before it actually gets to go inhabit its sign.
So I would be tempted to say that could be accomplished through an Easter egg hunt. I have no idea. I think it's I cannot remember when Easter is. Do you know? I can't remember this year. I feel so sad because it's one of the like most lovely, most poignant. But like, let's say you're gathering, right? The moon's in
Mhm.
Aquarius. It'll be fun for groups. You've got that Mars coming in, kind of like you said, cleaning up the rabbit holes or tangents, and you got a bunch of kids, right? And so it's perfect for that kind of Easter hunt or Easter gathering or something like that.
Mhm, for sure.
Yeah.
Let me just look before I go. I'm pretty sure it's actually the weekend before that happens that we have Easter. I don't know
Okay.
why we didn't write that down, hey?
I don't know why the calendar didn't print it for us.
Right? Why?
I feel so helpless in the face of technology.
So Good Friday is April 3rd. So
There you
that
go.
that weekend is going to be,
Oh, with the Venus square Pluto.
yes, yeah, Easter weekend is that really dynamic weekend with Venus square Pluto and Mercury trine
I
Jupiter.
mean,
The
and
Mercury trine Jupiter is nice. That's lovely.
it's
That'll
like pageants, right? Like I'm starting to see those folks who do the pageants for the Easter thing or a program. Like
yeah.
I hate to say it, didn't Arrested Development try to do that with the paintings? And they did Leonardo's God and Adam.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
moving
Very
on.
nice. Yeah. But interestingly enough, we're gonna go back to that weekend just because
Yeah,
with the Venus square Pluto, there's some interesting room for healing in that.
I love it.
Um, yeah, for sure. The Venus and Pluto, especially Venus in her own sign, There's some really beautiful earth healing in there,
Yeah,
like some,
simple. You don't have to talk
mhm,
about it.
yeah, and sort
Share
of
a
digging
meal.
up the potential to dig up human flaw and look at it and
The meat
nod
suits are
and
riddled with flaws. We know
yep,
this.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. It's what makes us lovely
it is.
sometimes. Mhm.
There has to be something to pull us in, and I think it is all the errors,
Yeah,
annoyingly enough.
But the food will be great that weekend, Venus and Taurus, the
Oh,
potential for a fantastic meal. I think, yeah, I think it's a good weekend. So now that we know when Easter is, it's going to be a busy weekend for people for sure.
mhm,
So it's not until the next weekend that we get that Mars conjunct Neptune, which
mhm.
is good. I mean, that would be interesting on it for a religious celebration, the Mars and the Neptune.
Well, I
Um,
mean, it's all of a piece. When I said that, my notions of Easter, I think about the first time I went through a garden of the Lord's, which is the 13 stations of Christ, which, I was in my teens, but I didn't have that in my head. And it's his whole crucifixion. So I left sobbing, a little too sensitive to the notes of abuse. And so I left and I was like, what's going on? And so it's one of the heavier messages, right? Even though we've got the bunnies and the kids and the candy and stuff, it still includes our confrontation with spiritual authenticity.
mm,
How we
mm.
really didn't like it the last time.
Right, right. Yes, good point. Good point. Um, and then but okay, so we've got Mars's rite of passage with Neptune
Yeah.
on that next weekend. And then right after that on the Tuesday, Mercury goes into Aries. But in between, we have a really beautiful Venus and Taurus sextile Jupiter and Cancer.
Oh, yum.
So if anybody has anything important that they need really good energy around,
Mhm.
um, the 13th would be a great day
I
because
love
we've got
that.
some really nice energy that day for sure. Especially if it's stuff because it's happening before the new moon. That's actually probably right as the balsamic phase starts.
I like that.
If
Yeah.
there are things that you want to close gently, that would
Beautiful.
that would be the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's lovely. Um, and then the very next day, Mercury finally leaves our water soaked Pisces and
Mhm.
moves into Aries. And so that's when, I mean, or have you found yourself really like mentally active
Oh
at
my
this
gosh.
time?
Yes. Oh,
I
yes.
don't, okay. I wanted to ask just because I know all this stuff is hitting my Mercury. So
Mhm.
I know that's one of the reasons why my head's really busy, but I didn't know if that was happening for everybody else too.
I just happened to bring my synastry. So my Mercury is trine Mars and Jupiter right now,
Okay.
very big, and
Mhm.
sesquiquadrate Saturn and Neptune.
Right.
Yeah, trine the midheaven.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Oh,
I don't think that
square the Sun and Venus. There we go.
okay,
There it
okay.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so my point in asking that was I don't think that's gonna slow down when Mercury moves into Aries. I think that, it tends to fire tends to make the brain busier. The thing is that with, Mars there as well, we'll know what to do about it. The
I like
ability to
it.
take action will be a lot easier, a lot more straightforward, and a lot clearer.
Yeah.
But impatience and harsh words, a little bit easier to slip out of our mouths when Mars is in Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be gentle with yourself if you get caught on doors.
If you get caught on doors, if you hit your hands on everything like I do.
If you start doing freak accidents, like the
Yeah.
way I set things up is always to do the most
Yeah.
elaborate accident.
Now that's a really good point because Uranus is a troublemaker in that way, and it's going to be
Uranus
sitting at
is
29
brutal.
degrees this whole time. So it's going to be a brat because this month is its last moment in Taurus until it finally for the next 7 years moves into Gemini later in the month. So that the chance for tripping, hurting yourself, little things,
It's
be
right
try to
there.
be mindful because yeah, it's tricky for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
For sure. And then on the sun is going to leave Aries, but before it does, it talks to Chiron. And this is actually the last time for another 50 years before they
Mm,
make this aspect. So I thought it was worth mentioning just because it's not going to happen again for a really long time.
right.
And so it's like this final look at those Chiron and Aries challenges.
Hmm.
And I feel like one of the things that we've been dealing with while Chiron has been in Aries is the difference between being independent versus being alone.
Hmm.
Um, the my needs are more important than everybody else's needs.
Right.
You know, the
Totally.
taking action for the sake of taking action rather than taking action to heal or help.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we've been navigating. And so the sun is going to come in and have one last chat
Yeah.
with Chiron. And
How'd
so
you feel about that? How'd you like that? What hurt about that? What worked about that?
yeah. Yeah. And how do you feel? Because to me, the sun in Aries, there's a really big piece in there around trying to understand what your healthy ego looks like.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, so how can we recover the healthy part of your ego? Because
Oh,
I really feel like everybody's kind of gotten their ego punched around a lot while Chiron has been in Aries.
yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody tells you the ego is also a space capsule that's going to get bombarded by meteors throughout your whole life, and you're not supposed to get freaked out when like a fin falls off or you lose something.
Exactly.
It's a treacherous journey, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. And so on the 16th, when that the sun it's only going to last a day,
Mm,
um, there might be either an insight, a pang of awareness, or maybe just a moment of sort of maybe it's a little sadness. Maybe it's a
yeah,
little
be tender.
mourning for that little Aries piece. So just sort of keep that in mind if you're feeling a little low that day.
I really
Um,
like that. That's a really good observation.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And it's perfect timing because it's just before we hit the last new moon in Aries. And
right.
Chiron is part of that story. So it's not the sun and Aries piece is the day before, but
Hmm.
we can actually set intentions and do things around that with that new moon the next day, right? So there's some beautiful energy to work with that if it's something that we feel needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
You think so?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was getting into what you were saying, so I was like, "Gosh, this is a great podcast."
Oh my God, you make me laugh. That's going on the blooper reel. Um,
I was just thinking about that grounding, and I got to tell you guys, I'm really distracted because this month's calendar has all kinds of little pictures of what's going to grow well this month, and I haven't been able to stop talking about it, and it has nothing to do with our show. But we were talking about how on that 19th, when the sun moves into Taurus, there's a sense of dryness. And I was looking at that conjunction with the Mars and the Saturn in Aries, thinking it's not just dry, it's dry and barren. And as that moves up to this, or no, that's after this. So let me reframe that, because the thought I was having around the sun conjunct Chiron was maturation, and the process of maturation is one where you digest, you reflect, and you integrate what you learned from the conflicts or tensions in your life. That's what I think, my 2 cents. And the Saturn or the Chiron with the sun is going to, like you said, give you an opportunity to either pick up stuff you've digested along the way or see the things that are still sort of an obstacle. And that's standard for everybody, but what an insight. And yeah, be gentle with yourself during that process.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. You repeated
Yeah.
that back really beautifully. And I think that, yeah, to pay attention to the new moon. So the new moon is on the 17th, Friday the 17th.
Yeah.
Um, and it's at 2728 Aries. And
Mm.
we have 6 planets and Chiron in Aries in that chart.
Right. Right.
And it's not yeah, so we're still working in that Aries piece of the zodiac. It's going to start to separate now with the sun moving into Taurus, but we're still
Mm.
looking at the Aries piece of us. And I know from talking to people, I don't know if you've had the same experience, but life feels pretty lopsided when everything is in one place. Like I feel like I'm only ever doing the one thing, which is work right now.
Right. It's work for me too. However, I think of it as a sneaker in the washing machine. One
Oh,
sneaker,
explain that. Oh,
Have
I
you ever,
love that. Yeah.
right? It's really disruptive, and
Yeah.
you're still gonna have clean shoes at the end of it, but like, whoa, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's difficult. And I know for in my home, there's a sense of we're gonna let each other have as much space as we need because it is like that. Like I'll say this before we got online, my husband came over and was talking to me about his job. And before he finished, I said, "Did you need me to listen to that or hear it?" And he went, "Nope." Da 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 da. And we do that all the time because we'll come back to it. You know what I mean? So there's no fear that we're going to lose it. Not recommended for everybody. Mileage would vary, but that's one of the things, right? Is there is so much going on. You need safe places to kind of off gas and have a laugh or relax around this really tense information, if it
Well,
is that for you.
and it's interesting because when we get these pileups, it's a great example of what's the word that I want? So when you have an opposition, there's the deflection side of that as
Polarization,
well.
right?
Well, polarization, yes, but also the projection, right?
Yeah.
So for some people, they're doing everything in the one area of their life and engrossed. And I mean, I'm okay with the fact that's the only thing I'm working on
Oh
for the
yeah,
year,
I love
right?
it. Yeah.
Or there's the opposite effect where there's the avoidance of the area of life that's so packed with energy. And so to me, in thinking about this in the context of how we've been speaking, that sun conjunct
Totally.
Chiron and the
Oh yeah.
new moon
Mhm.
also is for some people might be the opportunity to look at the Aries things they've been ignoring this whole time.
Nice.
So just if there's something that people you've been avoiding, just know that you might not get to for this little chunk of April where
Yeah.
it's like, no, 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 you need to address that before all this energy moves off. So that
Yeah.
could be another way that that plays
I
out.
like that. I like that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a confrontation. I like the idea of for some reason the image of a like a corsetier came to mind. Like if you go to a tailor and they fit you with something that the structure of it makes you look so good. That's the vibe I'm getting from this Mars in Aries. It's saying, hey, let's clean this up. Go, you know,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
in that nice shop way.
Yes, yes, and I mean, whenever something comes in contact with the sun in Aries, there is a purification
Yeah.
feeling of that, right? So, yeah, I like that. I think that that is definitely something that could be, a marker for some people. Absolutely. Um, so then we get it also so we that whole weekend because we've got the new moon on the Friday,
Hmm.
and then, by Sunday, the sun moves into Taurus.
Hmm.
And also at the same time, Mercury starts to move in to conjunct Saturn and Mars.
Hmm.
So that'll be a very interesting. That's perfecting on the 20th, which is the
Hmm.
Monday. And when we look back at the things that we've talked about when it comes to messaging and things that we're seeing online and that kind of thing, that to me is somebody's getting a spanking.
Yeah.
You have Mercury, which is the messaging,
Hmm.
Saturn, which is the disciplinarian,
Hmm.
and Mars, which likes to punish.
Right.
So that to me, somebody gets in trouble for what they've said on that day.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I like to think of all of the energies as holding potential in all directions. But the very first thing I saw was that Venus that I was trying the image I saw was a Venus crawling up a volcano, and she's got something in her mouth, and then like it's a caveman thing. And so she's dangerous, right? Because everybody had to do the work then. And then she's also a woman. And then she gets words, oh shit. And then she gets in charge of rules. So I had all of that come up. And the way that I think about it positively is you're practicing what you need to say. You're practicing what it is you intend to say, which is what the Saturn brings. The rulership by rulership, the exaltation by rulership of Mars in its own sign, has a desire to be um, have quality to the work that it puts out. And the Mercury in Aries has, like you said, the ability to not rabbit hole. good luck if you can pull all that off. Probably you're going to be fighting with someone or some other version of that. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I could also see it, like, even just from a personal point of view, if your messaging is off,
Yeah,
right? Like, you're somebody will let you know, and it
yeah,
doesn't necessarily have to be a punishment. It just
exactly.
you're gonna get the opportunity to rectify the situation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And before you react,
Hmm.
stop and think, has somebody done you a favor, even if they were an asshole about it?
Exactly.
You know, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
Or I mean, what it feels like has been really successful in March in particular was really taking a lot more breaks than you think you should, but smaller ones. Like
Right.
it can be a walk around your house or
Yeah.
get up, get back down, so that you get perspective.
Right.
And so that you can have this processing that takes a little bit of time, and then you have something else. You're looking at how your responses are surfacing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to Oh, I want to continue on with that thought because we were talking about how, with so much Aries energy, things come in short spurts, and
Yeah,
right, and so we
that's
to
really
that
good.
was the first part about the take the breaks, right? It's like you're going to get these zaps of energy, but then you're
Yeah,
going to need to stop. Like Aries really needs to kind of continuously regroup.
yeah.
Um, but that'll shift this month because as things start to move into Taurus, we start getting more. I mean, even with Venus at the beginning, we're going to have more of that tenacity available to us.
Mhm.
But once the sun also then moves into Taurus, then there's going to be less need for that stop start. But the other thing we're going to have to really pay attention to is, do I need to take a break?
Exactly, exactly. Or
Yeah.
will interrupting my flow help me think more clearly?
Yep.
So I don't know if
Yep.
that happens to you, but it does happen to me where I look at the room and I can see everything I want to do, but I can't see the priority of it. And if I don't kind of have some mechanism to straighten out my focus, I won't do anything, or I'll do something that's not a priority.
Right. Right. Yeah. I get that.
So if I
And
take a break at that time, that will help.
right, right. Yes. And so it's a matter of just sort of checking in with yourself and
Yeah,
seeing where you're at. What do you need? Aries and Taurus combined is an interesting energy because they pull you in different ways, you
right.
know? So just sort of see how that's affecting you personally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it. And then, ooh, the 23rd. So
Here we go.
this is interesting.
Mhm.
Venus meets Uranus, and this is at the end of Taurus. So it's like, so she's done in Taurus now. She's going to move into Gemini. And I was writing some of my newsletter stuff, and I said, it's almost like Venus comes and gives Uranus permission,
Yeah,
right? It's like, thank you for being in my sign. You
yeah,
know, this is your going away party. I'll meet you on the other side. And
exactly.
then she goes into Gemini just before Uranus does. And that's a fun energy. Venus in Gemini it's so much more social. It wants to communicate and talk, and it's flirty. There's a lot of humor with Venus and Gemini. So that
Oh.
we're lightening up, you know, the energy starts to really lighten up by the end as we get into that. Hey.
And I felt it already. And it could be because it's 85 degrees in the south and really sunny. But let's put that aside. There's a sense of things renewing, and I can feel that.
Yes. I when we first came on and we were trying to get me from stopping glowing and you have this nice tan, it's like it's very obvious that we live in different places. We just got 5 days in a row of snow and it was below 0 all week. And you can tell by looking at you and looking at me who lives in the winter wonderland.
Yeah,
Anyways.
when I moved here, my hair turned blonde. Just kidding.
Aha. Hmm. And so yeah, so Venus is going to have a beautiful conversation with Uranus on April 23rd.
Mhm.
Um, and that can be fun too. With your Venus and Uranus can be super fun.
I feel like it's almost another check in, right? Like
Mm,
here's the ruler of Taurus
mhm.
going, how'd you do? And who knows what that ends up meaning. I don't
Yeah.
have a myth for
Well,
that.
and maybe a moment of what do you still need to clean up? What do you still need to Taurus? What do you need to Taurus
Yeah.
before we move into a whole new
Or
energy?
what's your bucket list?
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah,
bucket list?
I
Like,
like
what
that.
do you want?
Well, and so we're coming, we should talk a little bit about this. What are we coming to an end to with
Right.
Uranus moving out of Taurus? So
Right.
I'm gonna like we've had a lot of instability around land and
Hmm.
countries trying to take other people's land and all of these wars that are supposedly about territory and
Right.
resources. That's
Hmm.
completely Taurus, the Taurus area, right?
Right.
Yeah. What
Well,
else
and
would you
also
say
I
was
have to say, people have been giving back land in this really
Mm,
remarkable way. In Washington State, I think it's the Klamath tribe got land with a dam on it, and now for the first time in over 100 years, there are salmon swimming in a healthy river. Reaching folks in a reservation, which I think is amazing. I know in the
mhm.
70s it was super scandalous, but people are getting land back almost every month. It looks like.
Well, and we have definitely seen while Uranus has been in Taurus a much bigger awareness of Indigenous issues. We
Hmm.
are seeing way more television shows that feature Indigenous actors,
Yeah.
Indigenous storylines. We
Yeah.
just recently we're watching I can't remember what it's called, but it's set in not New Zealand, Tasmania, and
Okay.
it's a murder mystery. It's
Mm,
hilarious.
fun.
It's like it's centered around lesbian relationships. It's a comedy, but it's a murder mystery. And where they are is an indigenous part of Tasmania. And part of the problem is the land is part of the issue that they're constantly dealing with there.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about this land battle, and one of the indigenous locals says, "Well, we've been fighting for the land a lot longer than a year." Like, and so you see so many more references in
Exactly.
just in general conversation about that
Yeah,
issue that we didn't see before Uranus went through Taurus at all.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
I'm going to say that's probably one of the most positive things that's come out of that transit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would say it's right there with the wars. It's the same battle. What are we gonna do with the land? What are
Yeah,
we gonna do?
yeah,
Right?
yep.
So, yeah, so
Totally
the
agree.
Gemini, definitely is gonna be, I mean, a lot of folks have talked about how these outer planets, and we've talked about it too, are creating significant change in this year that is substantially different from other years. And this is a substantial piece of that. And the potential of it is new ideas. And there's some notion that because it's represented by two, the Gemini, it's not the first time around. We are building on potentially the successes and course correcting what we've done before. And so, uh, what a remarkable thing. But at the same time, people may not feel it. It may just be a social vibe. Um, yeah, there's a lot packed into that, the Uranus and Gemini.
Mhm. What I found really interesting in the past few years with the political divide that we've seen,
Hmm.
is that from my vantage point, the loudest people, like I'm talking on an individual level, the
Yeah,
loudest people
yeah,
holding on for dear life to the past
yeah,
are fixed,
yeah.
right? And they've gotten louder and held on tighter the longer Uranus has been in Taurus.
Well,
So
and yeah, go.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
just gonna say, so it'll be really interesting to see what kind of shift happens
exactly.
once that moves off, and that support from Uranus isn't there anymore.
And it's so interesting to talk about that because I was counseling folks with a lot of Taurus to be aware that their fixed ideas would be under attack and that was just a function of the time versus um, somebody's going to find out you're wrong or somebody's going to find out you're right because that's irrelevant. It is the nature of the Taurus to not want to be jumbled about. And that's all that Uranus has been doing. So it will
Yes,
also be interesting now that Taurus will get a break from that to see what it comes back to or comes back as,
right,
after this wild time.
right. Well, and the reality is Taurus specifically, if we're talking about the fixed signs, Taurus specifically makes change when it's not being pressured to make change.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so it will be interesting to see once nobody's paying attention and that pressure eases off, to see how it turns out for sure. And The other thing I want to point out is so the outer planets they don't just jump into a sign. Uranus has been doing
No.
this for a year, right? Pluto
Yes.
did it for a year and a half before it
Well said.
changed. Neptune over a year, and so it. If we're talking specifically about Uranus and Gemini, and we think about it in terms of the AI coming to the
Oh,
fore,
yeah.
right? That's really how it came out. It sort of came out, went back in, and we've seen this sort of I mean, it's fast in terms of looking over at history, but it
Mhm.
didn't just enter the scene overnight, boom, we have
Exactly.
AI,
Exactly.
right? So we've had this sort of like adaptation phase for the past year. So
And
what happens once
historically go
what's
ahead.
that? I was just saying, so what happens when Uranus moves actually into Gemini? It'll be interesting to see what that looks like, what the AI picture looks like going forward.
I like that a lot. And, the large language models, the different ways people have used AI has existed for as long as people have communicated through technology, computer wise. Like I remember ICQ, you could put messages, right? Or you could do a quiz bot or a chat bot or things like that. So those were all like the nascent versions of AI. And
Yeah.
so it is interesting because I've read, and I'm not good with AI, I'm not a good engager with AI, that some AI is too complimentary to people and
Oh,
creating like crazy ideas because you're never going to get pushback, you
right.
know? Like, I'm going to go grab my husband's wallet and put it through the food processor. That's a great idea. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that you came up with that. But
yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting because in Gemini, it may not do that. I think of
Mm,
Gemini, I wanted to say this before, as I'm hoping is kind of the antidote of the Sagittarius soapbox, right? Like there's still this polarity that's really hard. And I think of Gemini as the funnier cousin, funnier, more charming brother, sister, cousin, relative of Sagittarius. Sagittarius trying to be funny, but they really want to tell you about this thing that they love. And they say that as a Sagittarius.
Well, here's what because Gemini always sort of has the potential to show us polarities, the two
Yeah,
sides,
sure.
right?
Yes.
And right now we've been waffling
Yeah.
about AI good or bad, right?
Right.
Like that's been the conversation for a year. And so now we're going to see that. We're going to actually see
Yes.
how where they fall into those two categories
Yeah.
and that there are two categories and maybe a bunch in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's going to become more obvious how they're being used and what we need
I
to
think
be
you're
paying
right.
attention to. I think that's probably the thing the clarity will gain when Uranus moves into Gemini for sure.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And at 0 degrees, we'll probably see some pretty interesting shenanigans because you know what 0 degrees is like.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so Uranus is already a brat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Gemini's a brat. Like the whole thing, that whole lineup. Uranus at 0 degrees, Gemini, brat, triple brat.
I love that you say that because to me, I think, there's a 360 view we get to engage in that it's really hard for us to feel, right? That's
Mm.
always there. And the 0 degrees really do that. And then the bratty part is that's not how we live all the time. We live in a really complex web. And so if somebody's going to start, 360ing, that's going to be a problem.
Well, and to me, brat is a very specific word, right? It describes
Yeah.
a very specific energy that's
Yes. I like it.
childlike and
Yeah.
is testing boundaries,
Yeah.
right?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see a lot of that for that
Yeah.
0 degrees of Uranus and Gemini for sure. Um, in the meantime, Saturn is flying through Aries at
Holy
Mach speed.
cow.
It's so
Yeah.
strange. Usually, when you're looking at the transits and Aries, Saturn is just plugging along and things are, by the time you look a week ahead, it's only moved a degree. Well,
Yeah.
that's not the case. And Aries, Saturn is moving extremely quickly. The
Yeah.
positive thing about that is the aspects aren't lasting very
Right.
long with it. But to have Saturn moving at Mach speed, I think that in itself can make people feel like they need to hurry up, you know?
I think I'm going to say it this way. There's an irritating urge to hurry up.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Yeah, you said it exactly right. That's what it is for sure. Um, so we have that, and then so the 25th is the official date of Uranus finally moving into Gemini. And
Mhm.
like I said, it'll be there for 7 years, and on that same day, the sun is square Pluto.
Whew. Interesting.
So that means the sun is in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So there's something around our fixed ideas that we need to be looking at
Mm.
that will there'll be some kind of conflict that makes us
Mhm.
have to look at that. So it'll be interesting to see what the Uranus at 0 Gemini contributes to that combination of
Yeah.
planetary energy. But it's a lot of air. That's a lot. Now we've got Pluto in air, and we'll have Uranus in air as well. Breathing, staying centered is going to be, we're going to be pretty
Busy
zappy in our
hands.
brains for a while. Yeah, keep your hands busy. Yeah,
I've been
that's
in
a good
cross
point.
stitch stuff and
Yes,
embroidery stuff to try to
yes.
keep me offline, but keep me hanging out with my husband while we're chit chatting.
Mhm. If you are doing anything with your hands, wear protection on your hands because Uranus
Ooh,
is gonna be really hard on our hands for the next
I
7 years.
was wondering where my thimble was. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. And I only say that because I have Uranus conjunct Mercury, and one of the things I realized this week is how hard I am on my hand. Like, I'm constantly whacking my hands on, like, I look like I beat people up sometimes because 'cause I'm so bruised on my hands, and it's just because I hit the counter and I hit the wall and I hit the door, and yes, so we're all gonna get a little bit extra of that for the next 7 years, so it's something to pay attention to.
Yeehaw.
And then right away, Venus moves into Gemini. Ooh, what's the date for that? I know it's here.
Hold on, I got the calendar.
Oh my goodness. I have the calendar too.
Yeah, my
There we
I
go.
think
The 23rd.
that's fair.
I said that already.
Yeah,
Good
you
thing we
already
did
did
that.
that one. Yeah.
Yes, we did that. Excellent. So
You
Venus is
birthday
then,
Uranus. Yeah. Sorry.
that's okay. On the 28th, it's going to trine Pluto. So that's a beautiful. So when Venus makes a nice aspect with Pluto, it's like in acutonics when you want to help Pluto, you add Venus
Ooh,
because it takes the Venus teaching and the depth of Pluto and makes it with love, and it's more gentle, and it's loving, learning from a place of love and
I
self-love
like
and
it.
value.
Yeah.
So that can be a really beautiful energy for people. Hang on a second here. Oh, the conflict that kicked up on the square for the square on the 3rd,
Mhm.
when when it was in Taurus, there'll
Mhm.
be some kind of resolution when the trine hits on the
Nice.
28th. So
Mm.
just if something happens for you earlier on in the month, that's when you might be able to fix anything that you feel needs to get patched. So that was something that I wanted to draw attention to.
Mhm.
And then you wanted to talk about the last aspect of the month, the Venus square the nodes on the 29th.
Yeah, because I keep thinking about how these readings come back to what our internal values are and how we ascertain them. And so when things are square the nodes, they are a little bit ahead of their time, a little bit behind their time, a little mix and match. And so there's something to come back to. And pardon me, I have the calendar, not the chart, but the remedy is usually shown in what you turn to the right to. So we could probably do that.
So if you're
Venus and
standing in Gemini,
yeah,
then you are,
you turn to the right,
yeah,
and that's the Pisces.
yeah,
So that's the north node.
yeah,
So you look to the north node and Pisces, which is interesting because we're talking about, the bowl in Aries, and it's saying go a little bit before then. So yeah, it's just that sense of the Venus is giving us another opportunity to see if we can make actual course corrections and
right.
actually get what we want.
Yeah, and from a mundane picture, the first thing that popped into my head about it was that square to the nodes being a disruptor, because it
Yeah,
can be a disruptor in a natal chart, right?
yeah.
And so women being the disruptors.
Interesting. I
So
like
I think that'll be really
I
interesting
like
to
that.
see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we got through that. Now we have to give our messages, and we're going to start at Aries. We're not going to get creative, Lillian, with our start wherever you feel like it.
Fair enough. Let us begin.
You go first.
Okay, so I've got the Mandala Astrological Tarot, and it's A.T. Mann's book. Here we go. That's how far
Beautiful.
back I have to hold it. And the first card I got was, I'm going to turn it upside down.
Nice.
So it's reversed, and it's the Lovers. So the major arcana, the number 6. When I look at his meanings, infatuation with appearances and devotion to choices of direction are ways to avoid choosing a higher goal. So let me try that again. It's like the focus on appearance. It could be a way to avoid higher goals. Vacillating between opposites diffuses effort. The opposite card, Temperance, ruled by Sagittarius, counsels a philosophical attitude. So that's for the Lovers. And my experience of the Lovers is choice, but it's that choice similar to Persephone losing herself to Pluto. You have to walk away from what your parents were giving you. You have to walk away from what you were grown up in to choose something different. And so there could be vacillation in that. And
Right.
the fact that it's reversed, I usually think means it's not aligned yet. If it were aligned, you'd be making choices.
Right.
So that's for Aries, right? The Lovers. It could be on the face of it, Lovers.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I realized after when I told you I was going to use this deck, I don't know why I did that. Well, hang on.
Right.
Just being creative with our arrangement.
It's foreshadowing.
So strange. So I realized that, I've never actually used this deck before.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle.
So gorgeous.
It's new to me. And I thought the heart of Aries season and to choose activation as the mode of message was so appropriate,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I love it when the intuition is working like that.
Yeah.
So for Aries, I chose the card Allowance.
Nice. Ooh,
So this card invites Aries to open to whatever comes their way, but without judgment, without opinion, without fear, and without resistance.
Interesting.
So if Aries lets themselves partner with the universe, it becomes a dance that mingles existence and expansion. So take the leap of faith.
Nice.
Yes. What did you get for Taurus?
So I got the Moon reversed. So another major arcana. So let me find that here. Here we go. Reversed meanings. Dreams or drugs adversely affect our psychic and spiritual life. We must understand our inherent destructive impulses. Woo! Dissatisfaction and failure caused by deception or hidden enemies. The opposite card is the Hermit and its sign Virgo, which signifies avoidance of emotional involvement. So let's unpack that just a hairball. We'll start with my 2 cents, which is the Moon is feelings. And I've often seen it say, if it's reversed, you're ready to go hang out with people. If it's straight up, you need to take a break. Okay, so that's what I've heard it as. So for Taurus, that was the sense I got. But what this is saying is more along the lines of that Saturn, Neptune, last little bit of coffee in the pot. And it's saying, you need to use discretion and you need help to stay clear. So whatever your dopamine avoidance tactics are, if they're dreams or drugs, etc., pay attention to them. And not to be fooled by the sense of failure is the sense that I would get from that. Yeah, I'll stop talking now.
Nice. Well, and so this is going to make you laugh because we don't plan these things. We just draw cards,
Yeah.
So Taurus got transition.
Nice. Ooh, that's gorgeous.
So this card is saying that the frequency of transition supports the deepest understanding of change and existence, which we've just been talking about that pretty much the whole
The
show.
whole time,
Um,
yeah.
and it's so that we can learn to let go, to surrender to the process, and to let transition happen with ease and grace. And the
Mm,
message is to be flexible and allow change.
yeah, I
And I
love that.
didn't draw it on purpose, guys. It's just the universe repeating what we said.
It's so good. It's so good. I really enjoy that.
All right, Gemini, your turn.
Okay, so Gemini gets the Queen of Wands. So we've moved out of the major arcana, but we've moved into energy. I think of Wands as energy or passion or fire. And it's the throne of fire, and she's in her regular position, initiating energy and the power of self assertion. The meaning is persistent energy, commanding pride, and passionate stubbornness. And I have, she's lively. Gemini's lively.
It's true. Well, I drew alchemy, and look how pretty that card
Oh,
is.
gorgeous.
No, I love that card.
You know what? I'm
So,
not showing the cards, but yeah, she is the Wand Queen is quite similar.
oh wow, hey, same colors and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Neat. So, alchemy, the card activates our magical abilities and our
Mm,
remembering of the magic we hold inside. We all have the potential to access the ancient knowledge, and you're being called to activate this and allow the transformation that comes with it. So, less analysis and more gut feelings to guide them is what is
neat.
being called upon. I love it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really
I love
good.
it. I mean, the timing of that is so beautiful based on Uranus is just going to come in and like zap their brains. Gemini is going to get the most
This is
amount
the
of that.
one. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Gemini
Yeah.
is going to experience it the most. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
So the next one, Cancer, I get Wand King reversed. And that one is this card.
Beautiful.
And the reading for that one, yeah, he's the only one reversed in the wands. It is autocratic, arrogant, self centered, unethical boasting. So let's just take a moment there. I wrote authority because that's the sense of the king in a water sign is a nourishing sensibility, a powerful sensibility. It is protective. And so while I acknowledge what he's saying here, autocratic, it could tend that way. What I saw was much more for Cancer. You're going to see where you're in charge and where you're not in charge. You'll get feedback for it.
Well, and I'll just add, because the
Mm,
thing that popped into my head immediately was Cancer is living with Jupiter in their sign,
yeah.
exalted.
Yeah.
So be careful. Like be
Yes.
mindful of putting authority where you're not meant to put authority.
I appreciate that you said that.
Because the Jupiter's emboldening, right? And so maybe there are times when it's not the right move.
That's right.
Cool. And that's what the reversed thing says to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
cool. Well, and Cancer's getting some heavy hitters because for me, I drew the Merkaba. Merkaba,
Wow.
it's
I don't
gorgeous.
know how to pronounce it.
So the energy is available to you. The Merkaba of energy is available to Cancer now to help shift awareness and see beyond your usual way of thinking.
Mm,
It opens the door to deeper insight and a sense of your bigger story by bringing your experiences together in a way that's useful to your growth. As we just spoke about Jupiter and Cancer, isn't that
well,
wild?
and what a lovely remedy almost. If you're feeling pent up, I mean, we've talked about feeling impatient. There's a lot of emotion going on all over the place. And
Right.
if you're being impacted by that, it's saying the extra energy that's coming that could make you autocratic or difficult is meant for blue sky strategizing
Right.
as
Right.
a cardinal sign Cancer can use.
Yeah. And so to move forward with purpose, it's saying to look beyond your usual focus.
Nice.
And to incorporate looking both inward and outward. And to the outward part is to look at something bigger than oneself, as
Interesting.
opposed to looking at, the humans.
Sure.
And also bigger than just our memories.
I love that.
That's important. And that's funny because that's what it said, and it didn't know it was for Cancer. So,
That's so
Cancer,
cool.
yeah, I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, Leo, what'd you get for Leo?
Oh, I got the Three of Wands. So it's just regular energy, 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 coming, coming, coming. And this one is not reversed. So the Three of Wands meaning an ambitious and adventurous disposition leads to a tendency to experience ups and downs in both career and relationships. Fierce anger expressed regardless of the consequences. So it's saying that because it's saying there's this passion that's clarifying. And then I feel like he's saying he's adding a warning. I don't want to mess with what he said. What I wrote is partnership. And so I feel that there can be a difficulty of partnership, right? Because there's you, there's your partner, and then there's you two together. And there's myriad of ways that that can get loopy, especially in a time where Aries is telling us all to do whatever we want. I feel like it's saying there's a lot of energy coming and that that will create more ups and downs. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's accurate and true. So I apologize to AT Man because I don't have any, I haven't done the work to say that stuff about his chart or how he interprets it. I'm just talking about it from my standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the first thing that struck me when you said Three of Wands is to me, the first thing that comes to mind with that card is always creative fire.
Yeah.
And now get this, for Leo, I drew the card that was that is throat chakra.
Beautiful.
And the message that comes with that is it's saying that you're being supported when it comes to your own self expression and
Beautiful.
also your sense of peace and balance. So that's interesting given that you're going to get this. And astrologically, they're getting all of this fire energy from Aries.
Mhm.
That's their, they get to benefit from that.
Yeah.
Right. So this is saying to find some balance in that and
Mhm.
goes with what you said.
Yeah.
Spend some time with people who encourage you to be authentic and speak your truth.
Yeah.
Don't don't use your light to look good to others or fit in.
It's unnecessary.
That's right. You're
It's
perfect already. You don't
that's
need to show off.
and it doesn't matter. You could be 100% imperfect and we still love you.
That's right.
On to Virgo. Ace of Wands.
Ooh, nice.
Isn't
I'm
that
a
good?
Virgo. I like that. I
It's
love
not
Virgo
reversed, it's
favorite
straight
cards.
up. So it says pure willed energy applied to conception, birth, or commencement or something of a commencement of something or initiating. And I feel that for Virgos. I think that's really exciting.
So now I can't remember the name of the technique. Virgo and Aries are
Uh, um, Fire. No, wait.
no. They're a weird like relationship to each other that I can't remember the technical word, but
Hmm.
they share a weird affinity based on where they are compared to each other on the wheel.
Hmm.
And it's a connection that you don't automatically think they would share, right? You
Right.
think that they're not having any kind of relationship to each other, but they are, they can be. And I
Yeah.
feel like you pulling that Ace of Wands, that fiery creativity, is telling Virgo to go there, go to that
Oh, yeah.
place that you have access to, but you don't tap into it very often.
So yeah, and I immediately get the image of coming out of that Aries, no, coming out of the Pisces, and the way the Mars and the Aries are clarifying and have direction. I think about
Yes.
increasing and that this is a representation of that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So I got for Virgo, and I actually laughed out loud,
Mhm.
discernment, because, we have a hard time with
Back
that.
to the roots.
So this card supports your ability to see the world and the people in it from a place of inner balance and detachment while still maintaining compassion and wisdom. This
Nice.
card is saying that the gift you have access to now is the ability to be discerning without judgment. That was the key, without judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And I love that because really to me, this piece is the important piece to tap into before you get to have the Ace of Wands.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Energy is coming. You need to know how to use it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not on what you think. Yeah.
No. Beautiful.
Hmm.
Libra. What'd you get for Libras?
So for Libras, I got the Five of Cups. So for my own interpretation, I wrote down tension. Um, but wait, it's Five of Cups. Sorry. La, 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 la. Five of Cups. I think we do cups first. Yeah. Okay, it's coming to me. Sorry, sorry. It's a good thing we got editing.
Sorry, Lori.
Sorry, Lori. Okay, Five of Cups. The first thing I wanted to say about it is I thought it was dead clever. Five of
I
Cups.
love that
It's sideways
version.
and it's showing balance. And I
Yeah.
thought, ooh, that's really interesting that a circle looks balanced no matter how you turn it.
And stable, because the two at the
Yes,
bottom are stabilizing it.
legit. And it's always going to have two at the bottom. It's always going to have that. So what he said about that, and it's sideways, and he has like reversed or whatever. Oh my God. It's the need to change quite quickly is what it's saying. And I'm going to leave it there.
Well, because it leads really beautifully into the card I picked,
Okay.
which is Miracle.
Oh my gosh. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
This card is saying to Libra, you are being supported in connecting with the part of yourself directly coming from source.
Lovely.
Exploring your spiritual body, your spiritual self, can open your consciousness to understand the truth that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. That's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. That'll be
I don't
interesting.
want to even add anything to that because it's so
I
perfect.
know, right? I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So Scorpio, I have Pentacle Queen, and then I think high school me wrote down the note because I wrote snooty, and she's reversed. So let me see if I can. Pentacle Queen. Sorry. Uh, Here we go. Pentacle Queen reversed. Oh, trapped in responsibilities or materialism. He goes hard, y'all, on these reversed ones. What I know about the Pentacle Queen, I think about her as the solitary gardener. I think about her as somebody who knows and has created a beautiful world for herself. And so, with it reversed, there can be an inclination of somebody being to you like, or of you feeling that same thing of, thank you, Lori. We really enjoyed having you of I'm better than someone else versus that experience where you're just in that world you created for yourself to accomplish the purpose that is meant to be created in that space.
Right. Well, and funny because so for Scorpio, I chose prosperity.
Nice. So pentacles for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So this card brings your attention to what prosperity actually feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you think it is, and not just what you think it looks like, but what does it feel like to be prosperous? It's about letting in the things that support your well being on every level: body, mind, heart, and spirit. And right now, you're being invited to enjoy what's already here, to let it feel good, let me say that again, to let it feel good and to recognize that there's more than enough to go around.
Yeah.
And we sometimes, I think people forget that the Scorpio is on the, oh God, I always forget this word, but with Taurus, it's about resources, right? The
Right.
scarcity axis.
Opposite. Yes. Scarcity access. Ooh.
Yes. So right now, I think that with everything in Aries, because they're both ruled by Mars, but Scorpio has such a hard time with Aries energy that they
Right.
definitely can go to a poopy pants place
Yeah.
of poor me while everything's racing past them and they're like Taurus trying to hold on to the stability,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
this is saying, lean into gratitude, lean into being
I
appreciative
like
for what
that.
you've
I like
got.
that.
Yeah. Sagittarius.
Yeah. So Sagittarius, I have the Four of Pentacles. So let me get to that. Okay. And it is reversed. In fact, the rest of them are reversed. So let's see. Four of Pentacles. The meaning is to apply a clear, practical method or methodical mind to serious problems. The reverse is, we were just talking about this, you tend to be too slow and steady, intolerant of invention, and overly serious. Excessive craftiness and cunning can be isolating and melancholic. So I think what it's saying is you're bristling with the energy that's coming to you. And the goal is to stay clear, which is going to come from other parts of the charts that we're working with.
Right, right, right. So for Sagittarius, I got compassion.
Ooh, I love that.
I mean, it's so poignant for Sagittarius because
Yeah.
it's something that they need to remind themselves about, to slow down and remember to come from that place, right? So this card is asking you to lead with compassion, not conclusions.
Yeah.
You don't need to fix anything or have all the answers. You just need to stay open and meet people where they are. Right now,
Mhm.
your strength is in holding space without judgment and letting that understanding move through you and out into the world. And
Beautiful.
interesting that Gemini on the other side got a very similar message. So it's like
Right?
the whole axis got it, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. That
Well,
is really cool. I'll have to think about that more. And I've been thinking while we're talking, some of this feels very warlike, and we are in a warlike time.
well, and the other thing, because you pulled everything reverse, or most things reverse.
Yeah.
And while we're in this very young Aries energy, to me, the message that you got for most people was there, you need to take time to go inward now.
Slower. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And repeat attempts. You know what I mean? Don't think you're going to do a slam dunk. You may
Yeah.
have to do things over and over to achieve them.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
mm.
So what'd you get for Capricorn?
Cups, three of cups. I'm so interested in diving more into this. So, Three of Cups reversed. Well, let me say what the meaning is. An emotional change of mind discovered through contemplation results in a need for withdrawal. Straight up. Great tension at home creates emotional flare ups and change in attitude towards loved ones. Okay. And then the emotional breakdown can be caused by resistance to confronting an important issue.
Mm. Hmm.
That's very pointed.
Well, that's interesting because I drew
Mm,
healing.
I love that. I love that.
These cards are amazing. So we all have a built-in ability to restore our health and wholeness by paying attention and using the information that comes to us through our senses. So this is about being present
Yeah.
and then harmonizing all of it in the best way possible. Notice the signals coming in and take the best action for your well-being.
Yeah.
Great advice given the the wild amount of energy coming from all the planets in Aries.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And I also made the note of teammates for Capricorn, that the Three of Cups is kind of, you're figuring out what's going on with your close buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And what'd you get for Aquarius?
Oof, 10 of Wands, which in the handle deck is oppression, but it's reversed. And what's fun about that is when it's reversed, it's the reducing of oppression. So let me see what he does with the reverse. The meaning of 10 of Wands. You may achieve goals through the power of positive thinking, visualization, and affirmation. A dual nature requires that both religious and material objectives be complete. Isn't that interesting? And then the reverse signifies, that there's a tendency to jump to irrational conclusions or make unrealistic decisions that are oppressive, but contain the seeds of change. And he's not offering a solution. He's
Interesting.
just saying this stuff is mixed up. So take your time.
Hmm. Well, so Aquarius got the cosmic flower.
Wow. Gorgeous.
Mhm. It is beautiful. And so this card activates a remembrance of the place we call home, the
Beautiful.
core from which we pour our magnificence out into the world. So the pulling of the cosmic flower comes as an invitation to enjoy the sweetness of life, to lift up negativity, and to express love as fully as you dare.
Yeah.
And I love that, given that we've got Pluto in Aquarius. Like, that's the potential, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
And last but not least, what did you get for Pisces?
So for Pisces, I really thought this was quite lovely. And I actually had a really hard time not reading through this as
Mhm.
a different monthly reading because, wow, we're working hard. So I got the High Priestess for Pisces, which feels like the like after a conference, I kind of have a feeling of being a bird out of the nest trying to fledge. This is getting scooped up and put in like an incubator for a little bit is my two thoughts. There's an inner consultant, but let's
Right.
see what he says. The high priestess is in the high priestess is the potentially uniting intelligence of subconscious memory, enlightenment brought to unconsciousness. The truth hides, and we may discover it only through intuition, divination, feminine wisdom, or revelation. The hidden truths are the mystical and wise feminine speaking through the Torah itself. Emotion matters, foresight, increase in fluctuation, forces of nature, artistic and psychic abilities. I feel like
Okay.
the last part was a menu of Pisces qualities.
I got the third eye for
Wow,
Pisces.
that's
So
awesome.
apparently Pisces is really supposed to tap into its intuition. So the indigo flower of life supports your intuition, your inner knowing, your imagination, and your sensitivity to what you feel but can't always explain.
Mm.
Right now, you're being asked to strengthen that connection and trust it a little more. Notice the difference between what feels clear and steady and what comes from assumption or judgment.
Ooh, I love that. That reminds me
And
of, go ahead, you
oh, I
first.
was just going to say, it made me think of because we just assume that Pisces is working from their intuition,
Right.
right? But with Jupiter in Cancer, likely that's their ruler, and they have been in their emotions for this whole time. And
Yeah.
really, probably, I would guess, if they're not actively working with their intuition right now, the two might be muddled, the
Right.
feelings and the intuition. And so
Right.
interesting that we both pulled cards saying Pisces, it's time to get back into connection with your intuition and your gut.
And I would say like that high priestess card, it's about the discipline of that. It's not about evading or hiding or finding like a clubhouse. It's about inhabiting your authority and allowing things to clear through. And I do agree with you. It's also saying stuff's going to show up and you're going to change your mind about it. So act accordingly, behave
Yeah.
in a way that makes sense for that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes. I like
so
it.
much fun. So much fun.
Excellent. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Do we know what we're talking about next week?
I really want to talk about Uranus.
Okay, good. That was where my brain went to. So we're going to
Yes.
talk about Uranus next week, everybody.
All right. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
Lillian. We'll see you
Yeah.
everybody next week. Thanks who was here.